Well, we want to bring back our panel now to talk about the PC's first budget here. Really the first budget in the province in 15 years for the PC, for a PC government. So joining me to break it all down, Jason Leader of Enterprise, also a conservative strategist, Amanda Galbraith with Navigator, who was an insider, and this is going to be interesting, with Mayor Tory's office. So you can tell us what he's really thinking there. And from the Ontario Liberal Party, as well as Knowlton Strategies, Omar Khan. So let's start with the gas tax, because the mayor's pretty upset here. So, you know, he says they're losing $1.1 billion over 10 years, and already $585 million of that was budgeted in the TTC capital plan. So, what happened here?
Yeah, so the genesis of this, if you remember, is the City of Toronto actually approved road tolls a couple years ago, and Kathleen Wynne at the time canceled them. And in exchange for canceling all the money the city would have gotten to pay for roads and TTC, she said, you're going to have lots more gas tax money, but it will come much later on. We don't have a Kathleen Wynne government anymore. So I think the Ford government came in, saw the balance sheet, and said, we can't afford to be spending all this money, which is an understandable decision on their part. The problem is the city had booked repairs for TTC, for, you know, lots of things to fix the subway system, and they can't do that anymore. And unfortunately, it's understandable that the mayor is upset. For sure.
Omar?
So for your viewers who've been on the TTC like me, and you know, you're stopped for 5, 10, 20 minutes during rush hour because of signal failure or something like that, this money would have gone into, or a lot of this money would have gone into the state of good repair budget for the TTC. That is gone. You know, as Amanda said, this was the idea of Premier Wynne, and actually my friend Stephen Del Duca is the former transportation minister. And they came up with the idea of doubling the gas tax funding, not just for the Toronto, but for all municipalities. We have to remember a big expense item for smaller municipalities like in Oxford County or in Eastern Ontario is the maintenance of roads and bridges. This is going to be a big problem across the province.
Okay, I also want to move on to education. So, you know, they marginally increased the budget, but that's because of the increased number of students. But in there, interestingly, was no new money for education spending. It also means no new money for teacher increases. So we know we have a teacher contract, Jason, about to be negotiated. Is this setting up a war with teachers?
I mean, listen, if you would have told most Ontarians, you know, a couple of weeks ago, Doug Ford's going to slightly increase education funding, I think most of them would have said, what? Like, are you serious about what's going to... So, like, there's this Armageddon, you know, the teachers' unions are, everybody's mad, and walkouts, and, you know, teachers pulling students out of school. And listen, a slight increase in education funding, I don't think this is going to get the heat that the teachers' unions and some of the other education stakeholders think it's going to get. When most people look at it and they say, well, Doug Ford went and he said he was going to get the books back, and, you know, a sort of a small increase is not the kind of thing that you fight wars over. So I'd like to see cooler heads prevail on this and actually focus on the kids, and that's where I hope that this one goes.
The Parents' Bill of Rights is really interesting here because, I mean, it's going right into the budget. It's a parent Bill of Rights, and it's going to give parents the right to pull their children out of phys ed or sexual health education that they don't agree with.
So we see a lot of gimmicks in this budget. I'm not going to get into all of them. This may or may not be one of those. Look, what we do see in the budget, and I think the government, from a communications perspective, was smart to get this out earlier, but we're seeing less adult supervision, less teacher supervision for kids in grade 4 to 8, and we're seeing a massive increase in class sizes in high school. So studies show, you know, when you have smaller class sizes, that's more individual time a teacher can spend with kids, and it's more supervision. We want more adults in our elementary schools, not less. And unfortunately, with these measures, we're going to have less.
Okay, and Amanda, really quick here. The government says they're not going to balance the books until 23-24. That's what, a year into the next mandate or the next government. Is that strategic so they can campaign on that and say, we're going to balance if you re-elect us?
I think so. I think it's a much more measured approach to balance I think people expected. It's a bit of a Goldilocks budget, right? Just not too big, not too small. The interesting thing is that last year they only have a very slight deficit. So if they actually played their cards right, they could come out and say, hey, look, surprise, we balanced it 1 year early.
What's your letter grade for this budget?
I give it like a B.
A B? Omar?
C minus.
C minus?
Solid A. Solid A.
Solid A. Okay, well, it's there. Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate your time and your insight. And again, you can look at the budget at citynews.ca.